Paradigm comparatively in Korea is not well known.
Right.
So how do you distinguish Paradigm speakers compared to other brands, speakers of other brands?
So first and foremost, when I think of Paradigm speakers, I think of the science and the technology that goes into building Paradigm.
Right.
And you go back as far as the 80s when Scott and Jerry first designed speakers. They themselves were, if not audiophiles, extreme audio enthusiasts, and they would listen to a lot of really good speakers and a lot of really bad speakers. And what they noticed was it was really hard to find good sounding music for a price that everyone could enjoy them. And really they set out to create a very well engineered speaker, high performing speaker that didn't necessarily break the bank. And that was the foundation of Paradigm. And they spent years and years building on the engineering and the science of making speakers. And part of what we do in Mississauga, we have a 25,000 square meter or 250,000 square foot facility that is focused on building better speakers by science. And one thing about our brand is through engineering, you are able to take your cabinets, your drivers, your amplifiers, and your crossovers, and when you design and build every aspect of that, there are no limitations. When you buy a speaker box, when you buy a driver, when you buy an amplifier, and you put them together, you sort of have to make them work. But if you design the elements, if you build a speaker, and you build a box that has a required volume for the performance of a speaker, a driver, and you have an amplifier that has a driver that has a specific capacity, and you put the three of them together, it's the best way to start. And that's what Paradigm has been doing for decades now, is designing and building all aspects of the speaker. So if you walk through our facility, the first thing that you're going to notice is how many aspects of the speaker we actually build. So when you're looking at a speaker and you see the box, and you can understand we have an extensive wood shop that makes all shapes and sizes of boxes. Next door to that is an automotive grade finishing shop that allows us to finish in any color under the sun, multiple exotic wood finishes to match all of the trends around the world. We have injection molding machines so that we can make our own cones, make our surrounds, make our internal components, make in-sealing baskets. The list goes on. We have our own metal shop, so we can do our own metal work. We have our own assembly lines to create our drivers. We wind our own voice coils. We attach our own spider assemblies and our leads. We build our speakers from the voice coil up. So every one of our speakers, and there are many, and whether it's a tweeter, a woofer, or a mid-range, it has its own recipe of voice coil. And every single voice coil is hand wound of all of the models that we make. There are obviously entry level, but all of our core speakers, our Premier series, our Founder series, our Persona series, and of course a great number of our subwoofers, all made in-house. So every one of those products starts with a voice coil and goes out through 4 decades, now more than 4 decades of speaker development. We have been able to do this. So when you even look at board level population, creating our own crossover boards, creating our own internal components for our amplifiers, it's all done in-house. So surface mount, through mount, integrated circuit, this is all done in-house. So that we can control every aspect of not only the QC, which is critical, but the performance as well.
What kind of reference system does Paradigm use at the facility?
So great question. It's always changing. So we have at our facility an extensive R&D area, which of course has the anechoic chamber right in the middle. And we have 2 separate listening rooms in the R&D area that's not your typical listening room like this, but in fact it mimics more real life scenarios. So in one room it would mimic someone's living room. So it would have some of the characteristics of drywall, some thin pad carpet, maybe a drywall ceiling, and in our other room you might have more of a storefront, some more harsh
Okay.
surroundings where you might have a drop ceiling. You may have a concrete floor. And you want varying environments to be able to test our speakers.
That's done physically, huh?
Absolutely.
Wow.
So
It's a lot of work.
there's only so much you can do in an anechoic chamber. The rest of it has to be done by ear. And while so much work and measurement of speakers is done to get us along the route, every single speaker that we bring to market has dozens, hundreds of rounds of listening tests.
Okay.
As critical as having the exact same speaker behind a curtain with just slight varying changes to the crossovers.
Right.
And of course, much like the NRC, we don't know if we're listening to 3 different speakers. We don't know what we're seeing because it's behind us, and we're going in on our own with a remote to click to change from one to the next. And all of this feedback goes to the engineers, and it helps them understand what these subtleties are that we're hearing
Okay.
by the changes that they've made. We don't know what changes they're making,
Right.
but we're reporting back on what we're hearing by these changes that they've made.
Okay.
So it really helps us fine-tune what we're doing. And of course, we have all the competition. So we need to know what all of our competition sounds like. When new speakers come out, we need to see how they're doing and what changes they've made. And our goal is, of course, always to be better.
So who is the golden ear in your company?
The answer is it's not just one.
Yeah.
And one of the very first things that I did, going way back, was I was sent for a hearing appointment.
Yeah.
They wanted to make sure that my hearing
Yeah.
was at a level that I could
Hear full
hear
spectrum.
the full spectrum. No, of course, I was a lot younger then.
Yeah.
Your hearing's a lot better at 30 than it is at 50.
Exactly.
But the good news is there's not just 1 or 2 that have the golden ear. And every year we bring employees in, we send them out, and if they qualify, they become one of our listeners. So I've been doing it for almost 20 years. I'd like to think I'm pretty good at it, and I enjoy it. I enjoy it because it allows me to still maintain my feel in touch with the products and how they're developing.
How is it different, the United States-wise, how is it different from Canada culturally and otherwise?
Culturally,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of similarities. But from the fundamental of how music is sold, Canada has a lot more brick and mortar. And if I were to wager a guess, I'd say about 70% of our Paradigm dealers are brick and mortar in Canada, and about 30% are integrators, installers like that. Maybe the difference is another 5%, 75-25. In the US, it's the complete opposite. So most of our dealers in the US are integrators and installers, whereas there are far fewer brick and mortar, mom and pop hi-fi shops.
Right.
And so there's how we go to market is quite different, but the breakout of sales is still very similar. We live in a world now where the CI world is growing each and every year. Smart home technology, control, from smart lighting to security to whole home audio, the CI aspect continues to grow. And by no coincidence, with both of our speaker companies, Martin Logan and Paradigm, we continue to develop more and more CI technology speakers. We just have a lot of other speakers to include in that category. So when you look at subwoofers, between the two companies, we have dozens of subwoofers. We have dozens of floor standers. And we have many, many CI speakers as well. So, and the goal is, in a sense, having a good, better, and best. And sometimes you've got a good, better than that, and best to go between. But really, it's about making really good audio at any level. It's just, what's your budget?